And we are now $1 billion in assets under management.
How did you start Octave Holding? Because right now, we all know, if you're watching this and if you are not familiar, Octave Holdings just touched $1 billion assets under management.
That's correct.
So how did you jump from tech to the real estate side of the world?
2004, 2005 is when I started the tech company. I would say 7 years into the business, around 2012. This is a personal tragedy that happened. And, it happens in life. Two of my closest friends, they passed away that year. One in a bike accident and one, he had cancer. My age, 40 years old at that time, left behind a family with 2 kids, young kids. And unfortunately, not too much of nest egg for the family. That kind of rattled me a little bit, and not to an extent that I was thinking, it changes your perspective when things like this happen in your life. Your chuddy buddy, you say the closest friends you have, and both die in the same year. It kind of shifted my mindset, saying that this can happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take away your business, your life. This is very fragile. So that kind of, changed my mindset to say, okay, while I was doing my tech business, there was really not too much of my own nest egg that I've created. No savings, if I say, in layman's term. Because in technology, the cash flow is always a challenge. Mm-hmm. You grow the company, you have more people coming in, you have to invest more money, and cash flow becomes a challenge. You don't do well, the profits deplete, your cash flow becomes an issue. So I really didn't have a nest egg. This is 7 years into the business of technology. So I decided that I needed to create a passive income stream, that is a monthly stream for myself that grows as a nest egg for my family in case something happens to me or my business, right? So that was the genesis, and that's the idea of starting Octave, because with a lot of assets, you see a lot of assets you can invest for passive income: stocks, equities, bonds, and real estate. And there are multiple alternative assets. For me, real estate made more sense because it's tangible. I'm a little conservative in that sense when I come to investment. It's tangible, it's cyclical, but if you buy it the right value and you execute it well, then you can generate a cash yield on a regular basis. So I started for myself, Octave. Bought some retail centers in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Myself was successful. Then friends and families said, oh, we also want to join. So then I syndicated for the next properties where people came together, formed an LLC, and then we invested a bigger real estate. And that's how it started. And then I crossed paths with my partner. He was doing that on his own with his friends, Sridhar Marupudi. And when we met, we had the same mindset, principal, preservation, conservative underwriting, and steady cash flow on a monthly basis, and with some growth in the end. And we said we decided to join hands. That was then, and since then, like you said, it's been a great ride, and we are now $1 billion in assets under management.
How does that word $1 billion sound to you?
Alhamdulillah, I know. Like I said, I didn't think about this number when I started, but I would say after COVID, me and she were sitting down, I would say 3 to 4 years ago. And you know what Abdullah, the most important thing is the niyyah that I had, or the intention I had for my family to create, a nest egg, the same niyyah or intention I have for all the investors coming in. I'm very conservative with our underwriting. We want principal preservation. And that is why we started growing. And this is all because of the investors that joined us. And, it couldn't have happened without that. It's a great team. We have a solid team. When I started and she started, we were, doing our own due diligence and doing our own analysis. Now it's very scientific. Our underwriting, we have like 40, 50 parameters, how we underwrite a property, how we structure the fund. And alhamdulillah, the people have started growing referral, right? It's been friends of family, family of friends, friends of friends. That's how we don't advertise too much. But so these people, when they came together, and I think back 3 years ago, when this was still, growing the right direction, Shri and I remember in this office downstairs, we said, I think by 2025, we'll reach the $1 billion.
Wow. And that...
So, yeah, and that happened, alhamdulillah. In November of 2025 is when we hit the $1 billion in under assets.